Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're gonna take a look at the team that my brother used to hit rank 1 in the world, and it is quite a toxic one, I have to say. And it was most likely the most dominating one that I played so far for the Open Great League, so what I can say is I can highly recommend you to try out this team. This team was absolutely insane. I think I started off with like a 9-1 for my first 2 sets, and this team just felt like so dominant against so many teams. It was quite wild. There are some weaknesses to the team which we're going to talk about in this video as well, but anyways, if you enjoy this type of videos, feel free to leave a like if you want to see some more top tier teams for the last week of this season, and feel free to leave a like as well. But let's take a look now at the gameplay a little bit more. We're going to have here a little bit more gameplay as well, just because I kind of felt like it. We're going to have the trophies against the LilyNiRiain tiers. Of course, we're going to be able to align our shadow variant of the Magnezone here as I swap out into the Leagau. And this is like the overpowered thing about Magnezone. You can just force shields like the entire time. It is just quite mad. If the opponent loses the lead, the game is kind of over for them. Honestly, like the game is kind of over when the opponent loses the lead, and this happens quite often. But what happens if we lose the lead? We're gonna swap out now here into the Wigglytuff. What you kind of want to do with the team is you kind of want to swap out into the Pokemon that is worse against whatever you're going to encounter in the lead. Is it like a fighting type Pokemon, you usually would go ahead and go into the Tropius. If it's something like a Whiscash, I would go ahead and go into the Wigglytuff, so you have the better answer in the back. This is one of the hardest answers to this team. Skeledirge beats the entire team here, but we were able to get some damage onto them. And not only this, we were also able to get some debuffs onto them. And so we can shield up that Shadow Ball from the opponent while generating quite a lot of energy over the Volt Switches here. We would be able to survive another one, but I still decided to swap out for whatever reason and get some energy advantage with my Tropius. And we're going to encounter here a double water line. And we're going to go for a very risky play, but most likely the only play to really win the game for us. We do not go for any charge move. We have to kind of farm down the opponent's Poliwrath, but they give us actually an advantage here by swapping out into their Whiscash. They try to drop my attack, but this is actually fine for me, because what we can see here is we're gonna get rid of the second to last Pokemon from the opponent, and we have 2 charge moves now to get rid of both of the opponent's shields. And so even if they get to another move, remember, we have a Wild Charge stored on our Magnezone. I do not risk swapping out and basically taking a counter on me, and so I can just go ahead, let the opponent go through with their Icy Wind. I can go for my Wild Charge, and we can say goodbye to the opponent's Poliwrath. This is going to be a good game. Next opponent coming through, a lovely lead again for us. We're going to encounter quite a lot of good leads for the Magnezone today. This is still actually a little bit of a trickier one in the 2-shield scenario, but what we're going to encounter here already is that the opponent is going to run a pretty toxic line. I was hoping for a debuff here. I don't get the debuff, but it's still going to be okay, because usually Victory Bell is running Acid Spray, and so it's not really too scary for our Tropius, and so I rather decide to let the move go through. But I was fearing that they're going to have in the back a Bastion, and I was correct about this. But we're going to be able to align ourselves kind of correctly here, which is going to be important. And also, the opponent is going to go ahead and let those moves go through so far, which is going to allow us to put them into a range maybe later on, where even the charm damage is going to be enough to knock them out. Of course, we're forced to go back into our Magnezone as they decide to go for a charge move. I can just overfarm anyway, because I don't want to have their Wigglytuff against our Magnezone. I think it was a Wigglytuff. And so we can go for the Mirror Shot. Mirror Shot bait. Hopefully they're going to decide to use a shield. They decide not to do that, but I don't actually mind too much, because we still have 2 more Mirror Shots coming towards the opponent here. We're gonna get no shield again, and so I can swap out down to their final Pokemon, which is going to be the Wigglytuff. And so as we have the health lead here, they have the energy lead, we're still going to be fine. Just charming them all the way down. Icy Wind doesn't really bother us at all, and so we can see here we can fully charm them down and win this toxic matchup. Next opponent, another toxic Pokemon with the Bastion, this time around in the lead. What you can do here is you can just play it out. It's actually a fairly decent matchup for the Magnezone. We have a little bit of lag here, but it doesn't really matter at all. Like, we kind of are going to be in a neutral base anyway now. The opponent decides to let the move go through. I don't think I got a single debuff with Mirror Shot today, but it is still fine. We decided to use a shield here. I don't really want to drop my defense straight away. I'd rather give some energy on the Mirror Shot there and now go for the Wild Charges, which are going to do quite a lot more damage. We're going to get the first shield from the opponent as we can reach another Wild Charge in time. This is going to be able to now connect, hopefully. No, it does not connect. We're gonna see that the opponent still tries to farm us all the way down, but not before we can reach actually another wild charge to get them insanely low. I tried to charm them down. It does not work out, but I expect that they're going to have another fairy type in the back now as well, going for the full toxic line. And so what I decided to do here is I decided to sacrifice my own fairy type Pokemon and go into my Tropius, hoping that this thing can clean up the game. We're going to know here as well that the opponent still has a charge move stored onto their Bastion, so we have to be careful about this. What we see as well is that the opponent is going to go down here with a Victory Bell, and they decide to go into the Wigglytuff, which I was expecting in the back, but we have to be very careful at this point, because we kinda have to expect that they're going to try to snipe me with their Bastion later on, as soon as they're gonna get the shield here with the Wigglytuff. And so I'm forced to use a shield, and I'm gonna predict that they're gonna go for the Bastion again, and so I swap out here, calling that correctly, as they're gonna go for the charge move against our 1 HP Pokemon there, and we can go for the full farm down to win the game. What a call it was. Next opponent coming through, Wigglytuff in the lead, is going to be again a great matchup for us and kinda makes this game super easy for us. So let's take a look at the opponent here. They're swapping into a Dewgong, allowing us to go for the bait here with the Mirror Shot, getting already the shield. We don't get a debuff again, but it's fine, because what we can do now is we can go ahead and go for the Wild Charge against them now, and this is going to be great because he keeps some energy, and we're going to be in a very decent spot here. We see that the opponent lets the move go through, and as they're going to reveal the final Pokemon, which is going to be that, let's take a look, it's going to be the Lantern. We know that we're going to win this game, and they know it as well, and so they decide to forfeit the game. We can see here me claiming my 5-0 set. This was the first set that I played with this team and was absolutely wild, but we can move on to some more games here. Sableye in the lead. You can win this as a Magnezone in quite a lot of matchups, to be fair. What I decided to go here for usually is just go for the bait, because if you go for the bait, you can actually reach the Wild Charge after 2 more Volt Switches. I think we actually got the debuff here for the first time, which is kind of nice. And so we can now go for the Wild Charge before they can do anything. But if you were seeing this correctly, they actually swapped out into their Steelix, which is a great play. But now they're actually going to be in a tough spot, because while the Wild Charge was caught, the Wild Charge is going to put them now into range for Razor Leaf plus 1 Leaf Blade. And so we're going to be able to align ourselves. And we know that the Sableye is lurking there, and Sableye does not want to face up against the Wigglytuff. But a little bit more awkward is going to be the matchup against the Bastion, as we're going to be debuffed, as they're going to take super effective damage from them. We're going to be in a very tough spot, but at least we're going to get some damage here onto them first. As we will see here, me swapping back into my Magnezone. Hopefully we're going to be in an alright spot, but we're going to try to overfarm by quite a bit. I'm forced to use a shield here. They most likely know at this point that I'm going to be weak against the Bastion in the back, and so they'll most likely want to try to swap out eventually. I wanted to wait here a little bit, which did work out a little bit as well, as I decided to go for the Mirror Shot bait. They decided to swap out onto the Sableye, and I was able to store that Wild Charge, and basically this is game over. Wild Charge should do enough damage from already this range against the Bastion. We can even still try to reach another Icy Wind, which might force them to go for a charge move. Let's find out here. Icy Wind is going to drop their attack, and so we try to go for the full charm down. It does not work out. They still have 1 HP, but I can even go for the Mirror Shot. I could no bubble this and still win this game, and so we can win here again with our Magnezone. Next opponent coming up, and this is again another hard answer to this team. A Fire-type Pokemon in general just completely demolish it. But currently Fire-type Pokemon are quite rare, and so I guess this is kinda a risk that you can go for. Here, we're gonna have to kinda go into our Wigglytuff, because Charm is only single resisted, while our Razor Leaf would be double resisted, and you don't want to go for double resisted Razor Leaf against Talonflame with a Tropius, let me tell you that. But anyway, we're gonna see here the Flame Charge coming through. We can go for the full farm down. We both have 1 shield left. They have a Lantern. I can swap out. They're going to have the Kofak Regus in the bag, and that is kinda it basically. If they didn't have a Fire type in the lead, we most likely would have been fighting here, as we would have been able to align our Wigglytuff against the Kofak Regus, which would have been lovely, but of course the Fire type in the lead kinda kills this one for us, which is fine. It is what it is. And as you're gonna see as well, they can go for a Shadow Ball. It doesn't knock us out at all. We can still go for another charge move here with a Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade is going to be able to connect, going to be able to get the knockout, and in comes the Lantern here. We can try to go for a Disarming Voice, hopefully gonna get them kinda low with that as well. But let's find out. It is going to be definitely getting them low. But can we still farm them down? I don't think we can. They're gonna go for a Surf and it's going to be able to knock us out, and sadly we're going to lose this game. Next opponent, we're going to have the worst possible lead and the worst possible save swap for us. Scummery is not what you really want to face here, but we can go for one Icy Wind, and I think it was a CMP tile, which might help us out later on as well, as now the energy is gonna go to waste here. They can completely undercharge if they want to, which they do here as well, but we're still gonna get them low and we can still go for the full farm down against the opponent. As you're gonna see here, Magnezone is coming in, and we can go ahead and let the Sky Attack go through. We can fully farm them down here and have a ton of energy. As I can try to swap out now into my Tropius, I get some damage onto them, and they decide to go for the Scald, which means they are very likely going to be weak against the Tropius in the back now, and it is going to be that superior, and they did not get the drop. This is still not an ideal matchup. Why is it the case? Because they have the super effective aerial ace, and so what we're gonna see now is it's going to be a fight that is going to be interesting, of like two grass type Pokemon going up against each other. As you're gonna see, we're going to be able to go for a shield here again. It's going to be the aerial ace, and we will try to go for our own one. It doesn't work out. It's going to be a tough one. It's going to connect here against us as well. We can try to go for our own one, but we have to hope basically that a one wild charge is enough from the Magnezone to knock out the superior. And we try to catch a move and go for the wild charge. Catching the move didn't work out, but going for the wild charge is definitely going to work out and knock them out as well, as we can go for another wild charge against the Whiscash to put them into Razor Leaf down range. This is going to be able to do quite a lot of damage, and we can see here one more Razor Leaf is going to be all we need, and we know already from before Scald is not going to be enough, and we can move on to the next opponent. Next, we're coming up again, great lead, like so many Charm users in the lead right now, so that's kind of great for us. Here you don't have to stay for the matchup itself, but I feel like it is the best way of playing this one out, as you're always going to get a guaranteed shield advantage and you still have a very positive matchup in the back. And like the worst scenario for you is that you have to use another shield on your weekly tough in order to guarantee alignment, but I'm fairly certain you don't have to do this in this case, so like, there's only winning for you basically. Here I sure went for the disarming voice in hindsight, because I was thinking maybe they're going to survive it, and so they go for a move, and with the Ice Wind I guarantee survive the move. And that's exactly what's going to happen now, but I could have just knocked them out without even having to worry about that. As they're gonna go back into the Ninetales, they only get 2 more fast moves in. I can go into my own Magnezone, and they don't swap out, so they're going to be weak against me in the back most likely. So I have to hope that I can still win this game. It's going to be an interesting one here, as they might try to farm me all the way down. They're going to have the Lantern in the back. I can keep the energy, and so yeah, this game is over. Next opponent, Azumarill in the lead. Kinda great for us. Let's see what they're gonna swap into. They're going to stay in actually here in the lead, which is totally fine. We can overfarm by quite a bit. We are now at 20 energy, or like 20 turns in. We're going to have quite a lot of energy with that. We can go for the wild charge and say goodbye to the Azumarill. Swapping out immediately into our Tropius. They retaliate with the Leagau, and now we're going to know already this game is over. Like, this game is over. Like, there's nothing the opponent can do. And that's kind of the overpowered thing about this team. It is just so dominant, and I don't even know why it is so dominant, but like it is literally destroying everybody here right now. Like, the opponent has no chance anymore. If you win the lead, you win the game. Like, it is absolutely mad. And of course, also if you lose the lead, you're going to be able to usually still come back from like swapping into something like a Wicked Tough and just like 2 shield down something and then align yourself. Like, this team is so overpowered. I would so highly recommend you to try it out. As you can see, the Jorge Chang is coming back in here as well. We're going to go for the Ice Wind, and this kind of seals the deal. Like, what do they want to do here? Like, there's nothing they can do. And so the opponent going to realize this as well, and we can move on to the next one. So, Annihilate in the lead. This is not really ideal, and as you're gonna see, it's like one of the rare occasions where I decided to go into a Tropius instead, just because I think the other Pokemon has a better matchup here. But we're gonna get completely hardwalled. And those games still can happen, of course. Like, this is like kind of the awkward thing here. There's not a lot that I can do here, but what I can actually try to do, and this is kind of why this team is also so overpowered, I can try to go for the 2-shield scenario. And this is going to be something where we can align ourselves. And so that means that the opponent's Dugong is, not Dugong, the opponent's Annihilate is going to go up against our Wigglytuff. And as you're going to see as well, the opponent is going to go ahead and swap out into the final Pokemon is the Feraligatr. And I'm fairly certain I should just swap out immediately at the next time. Like, this is a little bit of a mistake. I think it doesn't really matter too much because I can now swap out here, and I think it literally, I would have been hit by a move no matter what, I think, because as you're gonna see here, this is gonna do too much damage for me as well. I still have to go for one more charm, and now we just have to hope that I can still survive a move after going for the Icy Wind here. But as you're gonna see as well, the opponent decides to use a shield. They go for a charge move. Can we still survive that one? It is most likely a resisted Night Slash. It doesn't matter, it's actually a double resist Shadowborn. They're going to be able to knock me out. But this was a hard wall matchup, and here we're going to have another bad matchup for us. We can swap out immediately just to get walled again by a Skarmory. And like, still, we have most likely potential to win this game. And like, this is the overpowered thing about this team. You can usually, like, you win basically all the time when you win the lead. I think we won every single battle where we won the lead here today. And you can still come back from so many matchups which usually go horrible wrong. And here, as we were able to bait out the Skarmory, we don't have to face the Skarmory anymore with our Pokemon in the back, with the Tropius, and that is definitely something that is going to be very important for us. In comes US Cash, and we can even go for a Wild Shot. This is going to be resisted, but it's only single resisted, and so it does a tremendous amount of damage, and we can just go for the full farmer now with the Tropius. I decided to go for the Mud Bomb, I don't care, and it's now Tropius against a Greedent, and Tropius in the 2-shield scenario. This was something that I showcased like 2 seasons ago, I think, as well. It is absolutely overpowered. Like, there's next to no Pokemon that can survive the Razor Leaf damage for so long, because we also have so much bulk here as well that we don't have to use a shield at all. We can even take another Body Slam after this one without using a shield. And they have 2 Mudshot users, so they have 0 fast move pressure. They always do like 1 fast move damage, and they are very spammy, but like, they don't really have any chance of hitting back, and so Tropius is just going to be able to completely clean the last game here on its own, just because it is so bulky, it is so overpowered with the Razor Leaf damage, and this team is something that I would really recommend you to try out. So if you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like, subscribe if you have not already, and I will see you then. Bye bye.